Hello. Okay, sorry about that, everyone. Okay, so let me just continue to where I left off. Okay, one moment, let me see those. Okay, Michelle. So for your payroll, once you've committed for the month is optional, whether you want to release the payslip to the staff through mobile app or maybe even through email. Okay. So of course, this one we would suggest that you release it lah, okay, to the staff. Okay, so we'll continue back to the training and later I'll answer for I'll answer more Q&A. Okay, so for the access group, okay, this user setting part here might be a bit confusing. So we'll start off with the access group first. Okay, so for access group is basically for you to create basically to create the access for the entire group of people. Okay, so you can see here by default for your side you might see just payroll user and employee user. But for my side, I have finance user and I have boss as well. Okay. And in the title itself, we have already stated out the functionality of this group. So let me just briefly explain the payroll user and the employee user lah. So basically for payroll user, they have all of the functions. Okay. They can preview reports, they can process payroll, they can manage attendance, leave claims and such. Okay. For employee, on the other hand, has a very limited feature, okay, very limited functions, such as they can apply for their own leave, claim, and they can clock in and out, request for overtime, download their EA form and pay slips and all that, okay? Nothing much for the employee. So as you can see here, I've created two more groups, finance and boss. So for boss itself, the names itself already states the functionality, which is just for viewing. So if I break it down, let's say, for example, leave management over here, okay? They can only view leave entry and leave credits, okay? All of this I'll explain more later on once we're on human resource over here. But basically, they can only view, they cannot add, they cannot edit, they cannot edit any sort of they cannot edit or delete any sort of records, okay? So maybe I show you another one, for example, okay? So for finance, okay. So remember when I mentioned that payroll user can have all of the functions, okay. For finance, we can control. Let's say you want them to view reports, okay, but only certain reports, okay. Let's say, for example, you don't want them to view government reports and employee reports. So if I break it down even more under management reports, you can see I only allow them to view claim reports, okay. For the rest of the reports like your loan, payroll, payslip, attendance, leave, all of this they cannot preview. Okay, they can only preview claim reports. Okay, so that's basically for access group. I can create access for a group of people. Okay, why do we need this? Okay, I'll skip over entitlement group first and I'll jump right into user authorization to show you why. Okay, so let's say, for example, you have multiple employees over here. All right, you can see this is their email, this is their name, the employee profile, and then their user type and their access group. Okay, so let's say, for example, under this stuff over here, Joey, okay, we will change their access group. Okay, let's say, for example, they are just a regular employee. Okay, so you can see all of their functions here are very limited. So right now I want to change her to maybe finance. Okay, so I can change her user type to payroll user, and then I can change her access group to finance. So right now, she only has access to claim reports as I've shown you earlier under access group lah. Okay, for the rest of the functions like maybe tools over here, she does not have access to it. So I don't have to individually control her access, right? I can just put on the access group that I've created earlier. So this is very useful, especially if you have a lot of employees in your company. Okay, like let's say you have a lot of finance staff, or maybe you have a lot of HR staff, or maybe you have a lot of superiors, okay? So this is very useful lah. You don't have to individually control every single employee's access right one by one every time you create it, all right? So you just add on the user type and the access group will do. So once you're done, just save, okay? All right, so another thing about user authorization is that we can control which employee can preview which group of employees, okay? So let me just go back to Joey's profile over here to show you. Okay, so you can see here, next to the access rights, we have authorized employee groups. Okay, so over here, under the entitlement group, you can see that we have four groups over here. Okay, where do we create this group? It's all under entitlement group over here, which I will show you later on as well. Okay, so you can see for Joey's account, she can only preview three groups of employee. Okay, she cannot view anyone in the probation group. She can only preview the employees under standard group, manager group, and foreigner. Okay. So this is how we can control which employee can preview which group of employees. All right. So it's basically like a layer of restrictions. Okay. Another example is maybe you want to allow her to view probation and foreigner only. Okay. For the regular standard staff or maybe the manager staff, manager level staff, you don't want her to preview. That's okay as well. Okay, we can do that. Just make sure you just select correctly and then just save. Okay. So that's basically it for user authorization. Okay, we'll jump back to entitlement group, which we skipped earlier. So basically, entitlement group is for you to maintain their entitlement. Okay, a lot of the functions in the system itself is in the name of the function. Let's say, for example, entitlement group, right? The first function is entitlement. Okay, you can control the entitlement. The second one is grouping. So you can group which stuff belongs into this group. Okay, so you can see here I have four groups of entitlement. Okay, we have standard, manager, foreigner, and probation. So if you want to create a new one, just click on add new here, and then you can key in your title, and then you can start to maintain the leave entitlements and such. Okay, so I'm going to show you one that we have previously created. Okay, for manager. So you can see here for manager, this is the title. For unlimited leave is unpaid leave. They can apply for however many unpaid leave as they want. Okay. And for the limited one is of course the rest of the leave that we have over here, lah, such as like your annual leave, your medical leave, your hospitalizations, and many more. Okay. So the entitlement itself is completely up to you to control. Okay. Let's say, for example, annual leave 0 to 5 years of service is 18 days of annual leave with 10 days of carry forward maximum. Okay. And you can also set expiry dates as well. So if let's say you can set 31st of March, this means that every carry forward, the staff have to utilize this 10 days of carry forward before 31st of March. After 31st of March, it will be expired. Then the staff cannot apply for it anymore, lah. All right. So you can control your entitlements over here for your leave and for your claims as well. So for your claims, you can control whether you want it to be, is there any limits on a yearly basis, monthly basis, per visitation basis, or as I would like to call it, per receipt lah. All right. And what is the bring forward amount? All right. So once you've added all of this information over here, you can just save. Okay. So that's basically for entitlement group. So entitlement group is important because it helps us to calculate, it helps the system to know which employee has how many days of leave and what kind of claim are they entitled to and which group they belong to. All right. So if you want to standardize, all employees can preview each other and then all of their leave entitlement calculation is the same, then you can just standardize and use just one lah. All right. But you have multiple, then you can create something like this. All right. Okay, so we have gone through the complicated part, which is the access group, entitlement group, and the user authorization. So we'll jump over to approval settings. So for approval settings is basically for you to set to let system know how do you want your leave, claim, and attendance approval flow to be. So we have two methods, by department or by organization chart. So let me just explain the difference. So by department means the entire department itself would be handled by one person. So you can see I have multiple departments over here. Okay. And who is the approver? You can see is under this email over here. All right. But of course, all of these are I wouldn't say customizable, it's changeable. Okay. So everything here can be changed. So you can add on a few more approvers if you want. Okay, and just save. All right. So all of these changes are can be made anytime. And if you want to create a new one, let's say for example, let me just remove one of the departments over here. Okay, General Management Department for claim. Okay. So let's say I want to create a separate special case one for claim approval for general management. Okay, so I just need to select the department. The title is completely up to you as long as it's easy for you to refer to. So I'm just going to put something like this. And then I can select claim 0 to what's the max limit. Okay, just put a big figure lah. Okay, for me, I'll just put something like this. And then I will put the approver's email. Okay, so if I have more than one approval, I can choose whether I want it to be flat approval or sequential approval. So for flat approval means the moment someone in this department submits for a claim, both of us would receive the claim request at the same time. But both of us also have to approve lah. If either one of us reject, then it's rejected. Okay. So flat approval is both of us will receive at the same time. Sequential is it will follow the sequence. So I will receive first. If I approve, then it will go to the second person. If I reject, then it will not go to the second person. Okay. So this one is completely up to you on how you want to set it up. But yeah, that's basically the difference for flat approval and sequential. Okay. So that's basically for by department. We can set up the approval flow based on your claim, leave, and time attendance. Next up is organization chart. Okay, you can just select either one lah. All right. For organization chart is basically for you to set up the approval flow based on direct superiors. Okay. So what's the difference is that as I've shown you just now, by department, everyone in this department, okay, will be handled by one person or a few other person lah. Everyone in the same department. But this one can be, let's say I'm in the HR department, but my leave and claim is all handled by sales and marketing department, for example. Okay, so I can have different superiors to approve my leave and claims and such. Okay, so I'll show you an example over here. Okay, so you can see there's a structure over here. So let's say, for example, Lee Teck Loy is under, supposedly is under James. Okay, I can move his account from James here. Okay, let's say it's supposedly like this. I can move him to under maybe Shanti. Okay, so now his leave and claims and all that will be handled by Shanti. Okay, so this one is more flexible. And if you have a very flexible leave claim and attendance approval flow, I would suggest that you use the organization chart. Okay, because this one is much more customizable. Like you can drag and drop the approval flows and such. Okay. All right. So we have covered the user settings. So let me just see if there's any questions. Okay, Sherilyn, if employee resigns, you will need to deactivate their profile, which I'll show you later as well. And you need to key in their resign date. Okay, and you can generate instant EA for them as well lah. This one I'll show you later on as well. Okay, once we've covered up the tools part. Okay. So I think that's all for the Q&A. We'll continue back to the general maintenance. So for the general maintenance is much more simpler compared to what we've just discussed earlier. So for general maintenance, we'll have claim type and leave type. Okay. So this one basically just is for you to let system know what kind of claims or leave you have in the system itself. Okay. Or what kind of claim and leave does your company have. All right. So to create a new type of leave and claim, we'll start with claim first. To create a new type of claim, you can just click on Add New. Okay. Moving forward, you see a lot of this code and description. Okay, it's a mandatory field. It's completely up to you to fill in. Okay, how you want to fill in is completely up to you. But my suggestion is keep it short and simple. Okay. For example, let me just find an example over here. Okay, entertainment claim. Okay, I just put something like ENT, and then description will be the full description, the full name. All right. And then whether it's still active, is this claim still in use? If yes, then just put yes. Okay. Is limited to defined amounts. Is there a limit to this claim? If there is, then just tick. And then for the limits itself, you can set under the entitlement group as I've shown you earlier lah. Okay. And is attachment required for claim submission? Most of the time, yes. All right. And you can add details here. For example, for this entertainment claim, I see there's no detail. So I can add on, let's say, for example, date. Okay. I would want the staff to key in the date, okay, of their claim, of their receipt. So I can just put like maybe receipt date. Okay. I can also ask them to key in the purpose. Okay. And what else? Maybe receipt number. Okay. And that's basically it. Okay. Once I've got all of the data, I can just save. So whenever employee submits for entertainment claim next time, they will need to key in the receipt date, purpose, okay, like maybe who did they eat with or who did they went out with, which customer was it, okay, and the receipt number. Okay. Next up is your leave type. So claim would be much more simpler lah compared to leave, okay? Because leave, there's a lot of calculations for it, which I will show you one at a time. Okay, let me see. Okay, there are some Q&A. Let me see. Uh, Doris, yes, part-timer need to create account also if you are planning on releasing their calculating their salary here. Change the date in calendar. The claims today. Okay, Eileen, this one I think I would get my colleague to assist you on it. Canon, if it's possible, you can help Eileen check her issue. Okay. Or this one we'll get back to it later lah. Okay. So for leave type, okay, for leave type again, it's just to let system know what kind of leave you have within the system itself. All right. By default, we only have 6, and as you can see here, we have created a few more. Okay, like bereavement leave, compassionate, emergency, replacement, and study leave. So all of this leave you can create from here. Just click on Add New, key in the code and description, and the entitle mode. Okay, so for entitle mode, we have something, we have 3 options over here. So unlimited means you can apply for however many as you want without having the balance being affected. Limited without advance means once you have applied until 0, the system will block your leave application. Okay. Limited with advance means once your balance hits 0, you still can apply, and after approval, your balance would be in negative. All right. And next up is your leave entitlement calculation method. Okay, so this one, I think they have broken it down to a much more simpler setting lah compared to last time. So first one is how would you like this leave to be calculated? I would say this one is more on how would you like this leave to be provided. Okay, if you select full year means everything will be provided to you in one shot. Okay, let's say for example, I'll take annual leave as an example. Okay, so you can see here for my settings, this one you can ignore. It's just the naming. For this one, for my annual leave setting is I select full year means it will be provided to me in one shot, okay, at the beginning of the year. If I select monthly earn, it will be earn leave, which means I have to earn it on a monthly basis. In January, my entitlement will be 0, okay? Treat it as like your salary. In January, you will not receive salary until February, okay? So that's earned leave. But if let's say, for example, you want January, you only receive January's entitlement. February, you only receive February's entitlement. Then make sure you select monthly earn, and then you allow advance entitlement. Then the name would change, advance earn leave. Okay. And then, of course, before providing the leave to the staff, some of you might want to prorate the leave. Okay. Whether it's based on join date or confirm date, or maybe even you want to prorate based on the 1st of January. Okay, then you can select from here lah. But most of the time for annual leave is prorate based on their join date or confirm date. So system will calculate first, prorate it, and then after it's been calculated, it will be provided to you in one shot. Okay. Next up is, would you like to disable proration for this leave type? Okay, for this disabled proration, why we have this is because the moment you key in resign date for the staff, all of the every single leave would be recalculated. Okay, there will be a different formula to calculate it. This is because for resign staff, there's of course according to labor law, there's a different calculation for it lah. But then again, according to labor law, we cannot prorate medical leaves, like your MC, hospitalization, maternity, and paternity. Okay, but the system wouldn't know which is which. Okay, so the only way we can do so is under, let's say, for example, medical leave over here, we can select disable prorations. We select yes. So the moment we key in the resign date for the staff, the system will not prorate this leave over here. Okay. Let me just see for others. Okay, you can see here for hospitalization, I already selected. Same for maternity and paternity as well. So just remember to save all of the changes you have made. Okay. All right. Next up is parent leave type. Okay, parent leave type is basically for you to link both leaves together. Okay, what I mean by that is basically, let's say for example, emergency leave. Okay, the most commonly used one would be emergency leave. I can select the parent leave type of emergency leave to be annual leave. So the moment the staff applies for emergency leave will be deducted and annual leave will be deducted as well. Okay, this is the most common one. So both sides will be deducted. And next up is how many days in advance should the employee apply for leave? This one is completely up to your policy lah, whether you want 3, 5, 7, or maybe even 14 days. Okay, this is completely optional. Is this leave type specific to a gender? So why we have this is because to control maternity leave and paternity leave. Okay, so this is to ensure that the male staff doesn't get maternity, and then the female staff doesn't get paternity leave. Okay. Okay, next is whether this leave is unpaid or not. So this is annual leave. So of course it's not. Whether you allow encashment or not for this leave. Okay, if you do, then select yes. Do you need third party to replace the staff, okay, when they apply for this leave? If it's no, then you just select no lah. Okay, most of the time for annual leave, depends on the company's policy. If your company requires the staff to apply for, select for a third party replacement when they apply for annual leave, then you need to select yes. Okay, is supporting document required for applying this leave? Most of the time for annual leave, no need, but for MC and hospitalization and all that, you need to select yes. Okay, should public holiday and rest day be included when applying for this leave? For annual leave, again, most of the time also no need. This is more on hospitalization, maternity, and paternity leave, okay? Which means weekends and public holidays should be included as well lah, as the leave day. Okay. Okay. So that's basically for the leave type. So we'll move on to branch, department, project, and employee type. So the four of these over here is something that I will go through quite quickly because the main function of it is more leaning towards report design, not report design, report filtering purpose only. Okay. It's for you to label the employee, which branch or department or project do they belong to, and then how we can filter it. Okay. So in the system, in the setting part itself, all you can do is click on add new, key in code and description only. Okay. Let's say, for example, I have one in Penang. Okay. I can put Penang branch. Okay. For the rest of the info over here, I can just leave it empty. So you can see I have created Penang branch. Okay. For department, same thing. If you want to create a new department, click on add new over here. Okay. And then just key in your code and description. Uh, if you want to create a main department, click on add new. But if you want to create a sub-department, then you can click on the plus sign over here. Okay. What I mean by sub-department is, let's say, for example, for sales and marketing, okay, I've merged them into one department, but I can also break it down inside, okay, as a sub-department. Sales department, marketing department. We have support department under sales and marketing as well. Okay. So I can create sub-departments below the main department. Okay. So again, you just need the code and description. For the rest of the info here, you can just leave it empty. Okay, next is your project. So for project, again, it's more on report filtering purpose only lah. So if you want to maintain projects, then you can just click on add new, key in the code and description. That's it. Okay, for employee type, it's just for you to know which employee type it is, and how you can filter out the report. So again, to create a new employee type, just click on add new, maintain the code and description will do. Okay, this is for you to filter out lah in reports or any sort of reports, or maybe even in the employee maintenance itself. Maybe you want to preview only foreign staff, office staff, outstation, site workers, part-timer, full-timer, whatever it is. Okay, so you can create your employee type here. But this one is not mandatory lah, but it's optional. Okay, next is your calendar. So calendar, a lot of people get confused when it comes to calendar and time attendance. Okay, so calendar, this one you can take note. Calendar is mainly for you to just let system know when is your public holiday and when is your rest day. Okay, that's it. Your working time, your working day and all that is all defined under shift over here. Okay, the attendance management, which we'll get to later on lah. Okay, so for the calendar part, again, it's just for you to let system know when is your public holiday and rest day. If you have a new calendar, you can just click on add new, key in the code and description. At the left side over here, every year we will we'll provide the latest list of public holidays. Okay. And then over here at the right side is your rest day. Okay. So I'm going to select a few, for example, so that you can see what it looks like. So right here, I've selected 5 public holidays. If I click on apply, then it will appear red. If I hover my mouse over it, I'll know what kind of public holiday it is. Okay. So next is your rest day. So I can select every month, Saturday and Sunday. It's a full day. Okay, I can click apply, then you can see these are my rest days over here. Okay, in blue. Okay, so one thing I like to mention is that two things are. First thing is, again, every single year we will update the calendar, which means if let's say, for example, okay, I'll take the Selangor one, for example. So you can see here we have 2026. If let's say it's 2027 and you want to add a new calendar, you don't have to create a new one, okay? You just have to click on the plus sign inside your existing calendar. Just click on the plus sign. And then if the public holiday list is added, then it will show here, okay? But at the moment for 2027, of course, we don't have the data yet lah. So we will just show blank. Okay, so let me just delete this. Okay, for 2026, let's say the second thing that I like to mention is I'm sure most of you are aware that the other day there was public holiday. Okay, government add additional public holiday on the 20th of March. Okay, so how you can add on is, if let's say for example you want to add on, just click on the date and then just key in the uh public holiday, okay, or whatever description it is. Okay, and save. So now you can see we have 4 days of public holiday. And then once you're done, just click on save. Okay, so that's basically it. So again, do take note, if you want to create a new calendar for a new year, just click on the plus sign over here. If you want to create the public holiday, add additional public holiday, just click on the date and then just key in the description and save. Okay, so that's basically it for calendar. Just for you to let system know when is your rest day and your public holidays. Next, we have allowance and deductions. Before you provide allowance and provide deductions to the staff, of course, you need to set up your what kind of allowance and deductions do you have in the system itself lah. So to create a new type of allowance, just go to add new, key in the code and description. Okay, let's say for example, food allowance. Okay, and then I can select as well whether I want this allowance to prorate based on the employee's join date, like their salary. Okay. For start period and end period, usually I will just leave this blank unless your boss did specify this is a limited time allowance, but most of the time also we'll just leave it empty lah. Okay. And then for payroll contribution, you can select whether this allowance is subjected to any statutory over here, like your EPF, SOCSO, EIS, HRDF, and tax. Okay. And if let's say, for example, you have tax exemption rule, a lot of people would get confused. Okay, I noticed a lot of my customer thinks that, oh, I have tax exemption rule, so I don't have to pay tax. Okay, they'll leave it empty. So this is the wrong way. Why is because I'll provide you an example. Let's take travel allowance. Okay, so if let's say I do not pay tax over here, and then the petrol allowance tax exemption, there's tax exemption up to 6,000. So what if you exempt up to 6,000 already, and then there's more, there's like another 1,000, but you don't pay tax, then how do you exempt something that you do not pay? Okay, so this one is something that you have to take note lah. If you have tax exemption rule, you still have to pay tax as well. Okay. Next up is your EA form selection field. If you have a very specific spot on where you want your allowance to appear inside the EA, then you can select from here as well. Okay. And lastly, if you have a formula for the allowance, like let's say, for example, attendance allowance over here, you want to provide attendance allowance based on their uh, attendance, then you can create, you want to provide allowance based on their attendance, then you can create a own formula over here. Okay. But if you have issues with the formula, you're unsure on how to create and such, you can contact our support team and they will assist you with it. Okay. So this is just a very simple formula as you can see over here lah. Okay. So once you're done with the formulas and such, you can just save. Okay. So the same thing applies for deduction. So I won't spend too much time over here. So you can see we have seasonal parking and lateness, okay? And the same thing applies lah. So code description, okay? Payroll contribution and the formula, okay? It's very, very similar to the allowance. Okay, next up is EPF. So EPF, this is the EPF table. So every year, if there's any changes or whatsoever, like the most recent one would be the 2% foreigner EPF rate. So if we have any changes or whatsoever, we will add it in or we will make the changes accordingly to the system. All right. So this is just the EPF table. And a lot of you might say like, oh, my staff is above 5,000 and then some staff is below 5,000. What's the calculation like, or which EPF table should I select? So this one, you just select the standard one, okay? Which is the 11, 13%. Because as you can see here, under the employee section, it's 11%, it's fixed rate. And then for employer, if your salary is less than or equal to 5,000, your EPF rate is 13%. But if it's more than 5,000, it's 12%. Okay? So if you want to create a new contribution rate for maybe like your boss or something, you can select, you can just click on add new, key in the code and description, and then maintain the percentage or maintain the amount. Okay. So as you can see here, for this one, we have manually created previously lah. Okay. So employee rate is 11% and employer rate is 19%. Okay. Regardless of the salary. Okay. This is just an example. So levy, I won't go into it because this one is a redundant feature already. We are no longer using it. Okay. So next up is your overtime. So for overtime, by default, we only have three. Okay. Hourly pay, daily pay, and monthly pay. So one thing that I'd like to clear up is a lot of people will get confused on which one to use. Okay. There's a solution for this. It's very simple. Okay. It doesn't matter whether you're paying your full-time staff hourly rates or whatsoever for the overtime. As long as you pay them on a monthly basis, select monthly pay. If your staff is a part-timer, you pay them on daily basis or maybe hourly basis, like you calculate their salary or their wage based on hourly or daily basis, then select accordingly, okay? Based on the name itself. Okay, a lot of people I noticed that the full-timers, they would select hourly pay, okay, or maybe daily pay. This would result in their calculation being wrong, okay? Because we have OT calculation for hourly rate staff, we have OT calculation for daily pay rate stuff, and then we have OT calculation for monthly pay rate stuff. Okay? So every calculation here is different lah. So I'll show you an example of the most commonly used one, which would be the monthly pay. Okay? So as you can see here, for the 1.5 hourly rate is basic divided by 26 divided by 8 times 1.5. But of course, this one is customizable lah. You can change it. Okay? If let's say you want to divide by 22 also can. Okay? It's completely up to you. But what you see at the moment you create the account, everything that you see inside the system is default setting. Okay, for the overtime lah, it's default. If you want it to be a fixed amount instead of a fixed formula, then you can select from here. Okay, so I'll show you an example that I've previously created. Okay, so as you can see here, it doesn't matter which OT you take, the fixed rate hourly lah. Okay, sorry, this is on a this is supposed to be on hourly. Okay, so if you overtime for work days, your hourly rate will be fixed 10 ringgit per hour. Okay, so you can create your own. Basically you can customize your own overtime uh formula and such, and then you can assign it accordingly to the staff, which I will show you later on where you can do in the employee maintenance. Okay. Next is your report management. Report management, nothing much. Okay. Mainly just for you to preview what kind of report you have previously customized. Notification setting. Okay, notification setting, this one you can go through it one by one. Okay, on which notification you want to turn on, such as maybe your birthday, the staff's birthday, work permit expiry, leave expiry. Okay, so all of this you can filter it one by one, which one you want to enable. And then once you've enabled it, you can select how do you want to be reminded. Okay, whether it's through apps, email, or web. Okay, and once you set the reminder method, you can select how many days in advance you want to be reminded on. Okay. And then what's the time? Okay. And the reminder to. Who do you want to send this reminder to? Okay. Maybe the HR or maybe the boss. Okay. Whoever it is. All right. So once you've done all of the settings over here, you can save. Okay. Let me see if there's any true. Okay. So I'll let my colleagues handle on the Q&A. We'll continue on the training. Okay, so for the Excel import, next up is the Excel import lah. So for Excel import, this one is a rarely used feature from end user side, because a lot of times it's mainly used for us to import data. Okay, so the only time end users will be using it is when you migrate, when you change payroll system from at the mid of the year. Okay, and there's data that you like to import in. For example, your employees' data, or maybe your payroll transactions. Okay, all of this data, if you want to import in, you can use Excel import instead of manually keying it in one by one from the system. Okay, so you can use Excel to import all of your data. So I'll show you an example. Okay, if I download the employee one, this is what you will see. Oh, oh. Okay, so this is what you usually see in the employee Excel file. So you can key in your code, okay, the employee's code and their name. Okay, for anything that's in the green column is optional. Anything that's in the red column is mandatory. Okay, so you can see there's quite an extensive amount of data that you have to maintain. So if there's anything that you're uncertain, you can check with our support team and they will guide you on how to fill in. Okay, but once you fill in all of the necessary data, remember to save your file and then head back to the payroll part, and then you can import from here. Okay. If there's any errors or whatsoever, the system will let you know. And then you can download the error file and check where's the error, and then you can make the adjustment accordingly lah. All right. So next up is your period setup. Period setup is by far one of the most simplest thing you can do in the system. Okay. And why I say it's very simple is because the only time that you need to do this is at the end of the year or maybe at the beginning of a new year. Okay. Just click on add new, select the calendar and save. That's it. Okay. The main function is to let system know that you're ready to process payrolls and manage attendance or any sort of transactions in the new year. Okay, that's it. So lastly, we have claim, leave, and payroll closing. Okay, so to make it simple, claim and leave closing is for you to carry forward your balance from this year to next year. Okay, if your claim does not have carry forward, then you can choose to ignore it. Same goes for the leave. Okay, but leave most of the time also you have carry forward lah. And then for payroll closing is for you to generate your EA form and your CP8D. Okay, so I'll show you an example on how you can do your leave closing. So let me just delete this one. Okay, so when it comes to creating leave closing or to carry forward your balance from this year to next year, you can click on new leave closing and there's two options, okay? Whether you want to select December cutoff date or real-time balance. So December cutoff date will be based on the December payroll process. The moment you process your payroll, they will check at the time of your process, what's the employee's leave balance, okay? So they will follow that. So that one is the most, I would say the most commonly used one lah. But if you want the most accurate one, select real-time balance, okay? This one will capture up until 31st of December, okay? And of course, since you're doing closing, you cannot have any sort of pending transactions, okay? Such as your leave, okay? If you have any sort of pending leave, you have to approve or reject it first, all right? And once you're done with that, you'll be able to see this is your leave cutoff. So leave cutoff here, it will show you your employee's name, the leave type, what's their available balance, maximum bring forward, and then you will see there's credit leave expiry dates and CF. Okay, so I explain this one by one. What does it mean? Okay, so credit leave is together with expiry date. Okay, so these two are a pair. So the main difference between credit leave and CF is that credit leave is basically CF with expiry date. Okay, that's the only difference. So CF doesn't have expiry date. It's basically CF means carry forward lah. Okay, so if you see any leave that falls under CF here, this means that there's no expiry date. They can use it whenever they want. And any leave that falls under the credit leave here has expiry date. They have to use before the expiry date over here. Okay. And since their balance is 20, they carry forward three days. The remaining 17 days would be encash. Okay. So of course, all of this is changeable. Let's say, for example, I only want to allow them to encash 20 days instead of 23. I can amend, and then I can make the adjustment. Okay. So a lot of people would get confused on this part. Okay. They will see, oh, confirm, then they'll just click yes. Okay. And then nothing would happen. So if you read the message and then you see what it says, basically it says, do you want to double check? Okay, so just click no. Okay, so it will say basically, are you really sure that you want to proceed with this? Just click yes. So for any sort of closings or whatsoever, we'll have two layers of confirmation message. Okay, so for the first one, select no. Then for the second one, select yes. Okay, so I'll show you again on the payroll closing itself. I'll generate the EA form and the CP8D. Okay, so just click on add new, and then there will be a few things that you need to check. Okay, first one is ad hoc payroll items. So ad hoc payroll items are basically individual payroll items, okay, that you need to process. If you've added it but you did not process, then you need to either remove it or you need to process it first, then only you can proceed. And then for payroll process is basically your payrolls. You have to commit your payroll first, which means you have to log everything and confirm everything before you proceed. Okay. And then lastly is your year-end summary. So for your year-end summary over here, of course, you'll be able to check your employees' name, department, earnings, okay, total deduction, company, and PCB details. So there will be a lot of information for you to check over here. All of this data is based on your payroll data, okay, from the beginning of the year until the end. Okay, so if you see there's any discrepancy over here, it's most likely due to your payroll data. And if you want to make changes, you can either directly make changes from your payroll data here, or you can confirm and save. Okay, and then there will be an EA assistant button outside here. One moment. Okay, so there will be an EA assistant button outside here for you to manually edit the EA form if needed. Okay, so remember, once you've made any changes, let's say, for example, I change this to 220,000. And once I've made the changes, I just save. Okay. And then once I'm done, I can choose to commit the EA form and then just send it to the staff. Okay. Staff will be able to receive it from their mobile app. Okay. And if I want to send it through emails or whatsoever, I can head to report to send it. Okay. Which I'll show you later on as well lah, on how you can do it. Okay. So that's basically it for the tools part over here for the settings. Okay. So we'll take a short 5 minutes, 10 minutes break, and then later we'll come back to covering human resource, payroll, and reports as well. Okay. So if you have any questions, just feel free to drop it in the Q&A session. I'll answer it as much as I can. Okay. So we'll come back at 11:30. Okay. Thank you. Okay. Doris, oh, okay, Doris, your question just now, yes. Uh, AutoCount HRMS is capable of handling payroll for employee salary payments, okay? Even their leave and claims and all that. So it's not just strictly for HR records. You can process your staff payroll and all that. Okay, Charan Kaur, let me see your inquiries. Okay, your customer only allows staff to apply after confirm. Then you need to change your settings to only allow staff to apply after confirm. Okay, you need to have two entitlement group. Okay. Let me just show you from my share screen here. So you need to have something like this. Okay. So one is standard and then another one is probation. So you can assign it to the staff. The moment they join, they are under probation group. Okay. So in the probation group over here, there's nothing. Okay. Only medical leave, hospitalization, maternity, and all that. So there's no annual leaves or whatsoever. So the moment the staff is confirmed, you can head to their profile and change their entitlement group to standard. Okay. So this one I'll show you where you can do it later as well lah. All right. Okay, someone asked if where we can get the EA assistant. So for the EA assistant, you can get it from payroll closing over here. Tools, payroll closing, and then make sure you have processed your payroll closing first. Then only you can find the EA assistant button over here. For Doris, your question, this one later I'll show you on how you can do it lah. Okay, so we'll go based on the training flow. Okay, we won't jump here and there, and we'll wait for everyone to come back after the break. For Janti, okay, for accountant plan, staff cannot access, okay? Only for premium plan where the staff can access everything. For accountant and express plan, staff cannot download their EA or their payslip from the app. Okay, only under premium plan. Nurul, we continue at 11:30. Eunice, you want to disable the staff balance. Let me see if it's possible or not. Uh, it is possible. You can disable it if you want under user authorization. Okay, Sharon, this one if you are a dealer, then you have to contact your respective channel sales and they will guide you on how to add on 20 more headcounts for attendance module. Fuel system. Okay. So we'll continue to where we left off. Okay. So we have covered the tools part. So now we'll cover payroll, reports, and then the last part will be human resource. Okay. So we'll start off with payroll first. Okay. So just now it was tools. Tools is mainly for setting. Payroll will be more on managing the employee and the payroll. Okay. So we'll start one by one, starting with employee. Okay. So employee maintenance is basically for you to manage all of your employee data. Okay. So if you want to create a new employee, there's two ways you can do so. Okay. It's either through Express or add new. Okay, both of the outcome is the same. The only difference is if you click on Express, system only gets the important information from you. Okay, such as their name, IC, marital status, okay, pay frequencies, and such. Okay, if you click on Add New, there will be more information for you to fill in. For example, your spouse name, okay, IC, or maybe your statutory requirements, some of the informations that are not mandatory. Okay, so we'll go through them one by one on which one you should maintain, okay, based on my personal opinion lah. All right. So starting off with employee's full name. Of course, this is a must when it comes to processing payroll and submitting electronic payment files. Okay, we have to make sure that their name is correct. Okay, and if they are foreigner or disabled, then you need to select as well because there's a different tax calculation for them. All right, and then over here at the bottom, we have is active. If they are still active in the company, they're still working, then you just remain at is active. If they have resigned, then you need to uncheck this box over here. All right. And then over here we have has e-leave, e-claim, e-attendance. Okay. So all of this you have to tick if they have access to the modules itself. Okay. If you want them to apply leave, submit claim, or clock in and out on their own, then you need to tick this box over here. Okay. And then next up is requires face recognition. So if you require the staff to clock in and out with their how do you call it? Facial recognition, then you need to take it. Okay. So I'll show an example. Hmm, should be this one. Okay. So as you can see here, there's a record of my colleague's picture over here. So basically the system will store 3 images every time, the first time that they registered. And then every time when they clock in and out, system will cross-check the image that they have taken, the photo that they have taken with the one that they have initially registered with. Okay. So when you take require face recognition, system would try to get their photo lah. Okay. Okay, next up is under the personal profile here is of course their IC lah. If they are foreigner, then you need to maintain their passport. Okay, and then next up is your let's see, marital status. Okay, the ones that I don't mention like your address, your state, city, and all that. That one is not very important. Doesn't affect your payrolls. Okay, I'm only mentioning the parts where uh it will affect your payroll. Okay. So for marital status, you can choose whether they are single, married, divorced, or widow. Okay, this is mandatory because it affects your tax calculation. Okay, so try to maintain this as accurately as possible. Next up is your spouse information. If they are married, then you have to maintain their spouse information, such as whether their spouse is disabled or not, whether their spouse is working. If they are, then just tick. Okay, if they're not, then leave it blank. Okay, next is your number of tax deductible children. Okay, and the deductible child relief point. How you want to calculate it is you don't have to key in over here. You can just directly click on the calculator and then you can refer to the conditions. Okay, so let's say, for example, this new staff that's joining my company, he has 2 children. Okay, one of them is under 18. So I'll just key in 1 over here. And then another one is above 18 but studying diploma. Okay, so I'll just put 1 here. So how do you read this chart? Okay, so since now we're in 2026, we can refer to this chart over here. Okay, relief point 2025 and later is 4 points. Okay, so we can just click on apply. So now you can see we have 2 children and the points is a total of 5. Okay. So why is 5 is because there's one children above 18 and then there's another one that's under 18. So that's one over here and another one over here. And the total point is 4 plus 1. All right. So each point is equivalent to 2,000 ringgit of tax rebate. Sorry, one moment. Okay. Each point here is equivalent to 2,000 ringgit of tax rebate. So if you have 5 points means it's 10,000. Okay. And then for your spouse contact, your spouse tax number and all that is completely optional lah, whether you want to maintain or not. Okay. Next up is your employment detail. So employment detail, you can see we have basic rate and current rate here under the wage info. So what's the difference? So let's say, for example, I put my basic rate is 1,000. Let me just select the join date. Okay, let's say I join on the 1st of January for this year. Okay, my basic rate is 1,000 and my current rate is still 1,000. So if let's say I have an increment in February of maybe 200 ringgit, and my remark would be confirmation. Okay, my current rate now would be 1,000 plus 200. So it's 1,002. Okay. So basically, system will follow current rate. If you have any sorts of increments and all that, then it will add up lah, okay, accordingly. So let's say I have another increment in March of maybe 500. Okay, so now it's 1,700. Okay, so next up is your payroll information. So for your payroll information, you need to maintain your department lah. So to maintain your department, you just select the departments that you have previously created, and then you can use it for report filtering purpose. And then next up is your wage type. How do you calculate this staff salary? Is it based on a monthly basis, daily basis, or hourly basis? Okay, so monthly is basically just full time lah. Daily, hourly, or piece rate is more leaning towards part-timers. Okay, so piece rate is basically you pay them based on the number of tasks they have completed. Let's say they have let's say if you work in F&B, they have sold 10 plates of rice, then you just pay them 10 plates of rice commission. Okay, under piece rate. Okay. Next up is pay frequency. So pay frequency, we have 2 options, monthly and fortnightly. So if you select monthly means you only process their payroll once a month lah. If you select fortnightly means you're processing their payroll twice a month, okay? So first time would be the first day of the month until the 14th, and then the second one will be the 15th until the last day of the month, okay? And then next up, we also have payment by bank transfer, cash or check. So you can select from here. And then for the bank payout, this one is not very important. For the default rule, this one I will explain more later on in the rule part over here, once we have gotten to the attendance, because for attendance part, it might be a bit complicated. So we'll go to that later on as well. Okay. Next up is your employment information. So for your employment information, you can select from here lah, which calendar does the staff follows, okay, if you have multiple. So we'll just randomly select one. And then for entitlement group, this is where you can determine lah, okay, which entitlement group does your staff belongs to. If they just joined and they're under probation, then you can select the ones with probation. And then once they have confirmed, you can change it to the standard one. All right. And then next is your overtime table. So you can select how you want the staff's overtime to be calculated. If they are full-time staff, remember, just select monthly pay. If they are part-timers, then you can select maybe hourly pay or daily pay lah, depending on your wages type over here. If for the wages type you select daily, then your overtime table should be daily as well. If you select hourly, then it should be hourly as well. Okay, so these two should tally. Okay, next up is your join date. So join date and confirm date. So confirm date is optional, but join date is mandatory lah, because we have to know when the staff joins. Okay, and if a staff resigns, let's say resigns here, 1st of March, then we can choose to generate instant EA, okay? Which means you don't have to wait until the end of the year to provide the EA form for the staff that has just resigned. You can generate instant EA just for this specific staff, okay? And of course, we also have employee status. This is for CPA-D purpose, okay? So you can select whether the staff is permanent, contract, part-time, intern, others, or maybe management of the organization. So once you selected, the retirement date will be automatically calculated based on their IC, okay? And next is your statutory requirement. So for your statutory requirement is for you to maintain your statutory such as your EPF, SOCSO, income tax, and your EIS as well. Okay. So over here, you can choose to maintain your EPF table and your EPF number. And then there's another function called EPF borne by employer. Okay. So EPF borne by employer is basically meaning that your 11% is fully borne by employer, which means you don't have to pay a single cent. There will be no salary deductions from the employee side. Okay. So the same logic applies for SOCSO, EIS, and tax as well. So we do allow borne by employer, which means your employer fully pays for everything. There will be no salary deductions from your side. Okay. So the good thing is there's no deduction. The bad thing is you're gonna have to pay more tax next year. Okay. So next is your SOCSO category lah. So for SOCSO category, we have category 1 and 2. This one, I believe most of you are quite familiar with it lah. All right. So category 1 is basically 18 to 60 years old. Category 2 is above 60. Okay. And then if you have the staff's IC, then it will automatically be maintained inside the SOCSO number as well. Okay. One more thing I'd like to mention that I forgot to mention just now. For your EPF, the EPF initial and the EPF NK, you can just choose to leave it blank. Okay, because this was previously old information that was needed by KWSP lah, that now they don't really need it anymore. But we still have the field in the system itself. Okay, so these two you can just ignore. So next up is your income tax. So for your income tax, most of the time, I believe you will have residents and non-resident worker lah. So if they're non-resident, then you just select accordingly. If they're resident, then select accordingly as well. And then maintain their tax number. For tax branch, you can ignore, but maintain their tax number. Okay. And then that's basically it. For other information over here, you can choose to maintain whether there's any additional deductions or not that you want to have inside the employee's payroll. Like for example, zakat, tabung haji, or ASN amount. Okay. And lastly, if your staff is subjected to HRDF, then you need to take contribute HRDF. Okay. Okay. Next up is your addition and deduction. So for your addition and deduction is basically in the employee's profile over here. Addition and deduction is for you to maintain any recurring, okay, fixed allowances or deduction. Allowance as in, let's say, for example, the moment you hire this staff, you provide them 500 ringgit of travel allowance, okay, or maybe 500 ringgit of petrol allowance, for example. Okay, it can be anything. As long as it's fixed and recurring, you can add inside the addition and deduction over here. Okay, so if you want to add, just click on add payroll item. So I'm going to show you an example of maybe season parking. Okay, maybe the staff has to pay back to the company for the seasonal parking. Okay, for the seasonal pass. So what you can do is just select the season parking. Okay, and then just click on apply. It will appear inside here. If you want to change the amount or anything, just click on the pencil icon. Okay. Then click on the amount, and then you can just key in accordingly. Okay. If you want to key in by the amount under the formula here, also can lah. Okay. Or if you want to key in the amount over here, also can. It's completely up to you. Okay. Then you just save. So as you can see here, now every month this new staff here would have 100 ringgit of season parking deductions. Okay. So same thing applies if you want to provide them maybe fixed, maybe child allowance. Okay. So I can just edit, key in here, maybe 500 ringgit and save. Okay, that's it. So next is other information. So for other information, you can choose to maintain the staff's education, working experience, or note. Okay, any additional remarks or notes that you like to add in lah. Okay, so this one is not mandatory, it's optional. So next up is your employee's bank account. You can choose to add their bank account inside here. Okay, just select the bank that they are using, key in their account number. The beneficiary name will automatically follow the employee's name. Same goes for the IC. For the salary percentage, just remain it at 100%, unless you have staff that want to split their salary with maybe their parents or their siblings or their partner. Okay, then you can choose to split accordingly lah. Maybe 50-50 or 70-30 is up to you. Okay, so invite user, this is where you can invite the employee, okay, to access the mobile app or the desktop version. So what you can do is just click on the tick invite user and then key in the email, okay? And then select the access group. So since they are just regular employee, I'm going to select employee user, okay? Next is attachment. This is for you to just keep a record of maybe their resume, their CV, or maybe their offer letter, resignation letter, increment letter, whatever it is, okay? You can store attachment over here, okay? And then face recognition, as I've shown you earlier, this is just for us to keep a record of the employee's image, okay, when they first registered in the mobile app for attendance purpose, okay? So once you're done keying in everything, you can just directly click save. If you have any missing information, the mandatory fields like this one over here, okay, it will prompt up to you and show you which one that you are missing, okay? Then you need to key in accordingly lah, okay? Okay, so now the employee has been created. Okay. If you want to delete, you will still be able to delete as long as there's no transactions or whatsoever from this staff. The moment they apply leave or claims or clock in and out, there's one transaction, you will no longer be able to delete it. At most, what you can do is inactive the staff. Okay. So how you can do so is show an example. Take my colleague's profile over here. Okay. So let's say he resigns. Okay. I deactivated his profile. I key in his resign date and I save. Okay, is that new superior? Okay, so now I've deactivated his profile because he has resigned, but I still can see his profile from here. Okay, so what I can do is I can right click, click on show filter, but for mine now it's high. So I'm going to show you again. Show filter. Okay, drag to the active column here, show true. Okay, so the moment I click true, James Liu will be gone. Okay, so now I cannot find James anymore. Okay, because I'm only filtering based on active staff. Okay, that's what we can do if a staff resigns. Okay, so that's basically for your employee maintenance. Again, if you want to edit, you can just choose to click on the pencil icon and edit anytime you want lah. All right. So next is your organization chart. So organization chart is more for you to just preview lah, your company organization structure. So this one you can just drag and drop whenever you want, but this is all preset based on the employee superior, which you have assigned in the employee maintenance. All right. So next up is your payroll management. So for your payroll management over here, we will go down one by one, okay? Accordingly to, we'll go by flow lah, okay, from top to bottom. So we'll start off with ad hoc payroll items. So if you want to process your payroll, first thing you do is you need to check whether there's any additional ad hoc payroll items that you want to add on. For example, commission, okay? You want to add on commission for this stuff. Let me just delete this one. Okay, never mind, just leave it. Okay, so let's say for this stuff here, Tan Kok Keong, for March, okay, I will add in a commission for him. Okay, maybe Q1 2026 commission. Okay, let's say his commission is 15,000 ringgit. Okay, so the moment I add in, you see that it will appear 0 out of 1, which means it has not been processed. It's not paid yet. Okay. So other than commission, I can also add in bonus as well. Okay. Let's say I add 10,000 ringgit of bonus. Okay, again, it will show 0 out of 1. So once I've added this, uh, it's ready to be processed, which I will show you later lah. Okay, so basically, ad hoc payroll items is just for you to add any additional ad hoc payroll items. Okay, anything that's not fixed, like your commission, your bonus, okay, or maybe your BIK and all that. So once you added that, before you proceed to processing the payroll, you can check for time attendance import. Okay, so time attendance import is an optional feature. Okay, why I say it's optional is because not everyone uses our time attendance module. But for those of you who do, and you would like to process your payroll based on the time attendance data, like your lateness, your overtime, and all that, then you can use time attendance import. Okay, so every time the staff clocks in and out, our system would capture the lateness or the overtimes and all that. Okay. But we are not sure of whether you want to process your payroll based on those data or not. If you do, then you can use the time attendance feature over here. Okay, time attendance import. So how you can do it is click on import. Okay. For the period, you just select the month that you are processing. And then for the payroll type, select month end. Okay, for description, you can just leave it blank or you can key in anything that you want lah. Okay, and then you can select data source, retrieve record. Okay, you can choose to process the employee's time attendance data based on the month, which is by employee's calendar, or by selected date range. So you can select maybe from last month's 26th until this month's 25th. Okay, and then you can choose to process all staff or maybe just one. Okay, so I'm just going to process one. And then you can see here the total working days, the absent days, the work rest day, and all of that. Okay, so all of this, of course, you can change it whenever you want. Okay, so these are just data extracted from the time attendance. So if let's say, for example, I want to change, okay, they did overtime for maybe 10 hours instead of 2 on normal working days. And then if let's say they work 2 days holidays, okay, and then I just save. Okay, so I've extracted the payroll data. So now what I can do is process the payroll. Okay, I've already maintained the ad hoc payroll items. I've already extracted the time attendance data. So now I'm going to process the payroll. So before, okay, this one, let me just delete for March. Okay, I noticed there's one Q&A that my colleague might have missed out. Sherilyn, if your employee joins on the first day of the month and that day is a public holiday, what do you do? Uh, if they start work on the first day of the month, then you put the first day of the month. Lor. If it's a public holiday on the first of the month, like let's say for example, 1st of January or maybe 1st of May, okay, those 2 days are public holidays. Uh, if they did not enter office on those days, then maybe you can put the second lah, okay, second of the month. Okay. All right, so we continue back to the payroll. So for the payroll part over here, one thing that I like to mention before we begin is that the latest will always be at the top. Okay. So right now it's February. So I'm going to process March and then February is going to be bumped down to the bottom over here. Okay. Your payroll is not missing. It's just that we have organized it down over here. Okay. So you can always preview it back. You can always edit or delete it whenever you want. Okay. So we will segregate it based on the type of payroll as well, like maybe your first half bonus, commission claim, year to date, and your month end. Okay, so I'm going to process the month end that I've keyed in just now for Tan Kok Keong. Okay, so what I'm going to do is just click on new payroll process, select month end, payroll period. Okay, leave cutoff date. Okay, this is a feature that a lot of people don't really understand, okay, or don't really know how to use it. So I'll try to simplify it. Uh, Select the leave cutoff date to be the date that you are processing. Okay, so let's say, for example, today is the 26th of March. I will select 26th. Okay, this is to ensure that any date applied on the 26th or after the 26th, it will reflect on April. Okay, so why do we have this feature? Okay, is to avoid issues like, let's say, for example, you process your March payroll already, and then suddenly your staff applies for unpaid leave on the 29th of March. Okay, so you already process. We don't really want the trouble. I'm sure you don't really want the trouble of redoing your payroll as well. So this is to ensure that the staff's unpaid leave will reflect any unpaid leave lah, after the 26th will reflect in the next month. Okay. After that, you can choose to maintain the description if you want to, and then you can choose to process all staff or maybe individual staffs. Okay, so I'm going to select that one individual staff for demo purpose. I'm going to select that one individual staff only, and then click on next. So you'll be directed to a payroll review page. Okay, but this one you don't have to be too worried on it lah. Okay, so you can just have a look and then you can process because it's easier for you to see once you process. Okay, so you can see here, first things first, we try to make the payroll page layout as clean as possible. So we have segregated to earnings, deduction, and company. Okay, so as you can see here under the earnings part, this is what they have earned. Okay, so allowance, this is all based on their profile lah. Okay, the fixed recurring allowances. And then for the overtime, this is what I've keyed in just now. Okay, 10 hours of working on rest day, their OT, and then they have 2 days of public holiday as well. Okay. And then other than that, we also have their 15,000 ringgit commission on Q1 2026, which I've keyed in under ad hoc. Same goes for the bonus as well. And then for the paid leave, this is their encashment lah. Okay. So basically, this is just their earnings, and then this is their deductions. Okay. Any deduction, any info that you see here can be changed directly. Okay. Let's say, for example, their salary is supposed to be 21,000. You forgot to key in their increment. So you can just directly press on the figure and key in. Okay. So once you've keyed in, there'll be a button here for you to recalculate. Okay. So why do we have this button is to capture the statutories again. Okay. Is to recalculate the statutories. Okay. So maybe a small difference you might not have noticed. So let me change it to something bigger. Okay. So let's say, for example, right now the gross pay is 68,000. So maybe I change it to 100,000. Okay. So you can see the gross pay here is still 68,000. Okay. All of the statutory here is still based on the old figure. So what I need to do is click on recalculate. Okay, as you can see, the gross pay here has changed. Statutory here all has changed as well. Okay, so once you've made the changes, and if let's say you want to revert back to the original one, just click on the three black dots over here to reset your payroll. Okay, so now everything would revert back to the original one. So in case you're wondering why your PCB tax is so high, or you're not sure of the calculation or whether it's correct or not, or maybe it's not tally with your my tax, you can always open up the PCB calculation detail and cross-check. Okay, in case you're not sure of how to read the tax file over here, you can always give our support a call, and then you can let them know your issue, and they will cross-check for you and let you know which part uh on whether there's any issues or whatsoever. Okay, so our support side will be able to assist you on this. Okay, so once you're done, you can always click on commit all. So once you commit, you will no longer be able to manually edit anything. Okay, committing means you have locked the payroll process. But then again, if you have any changes that you would like to make again, then you can always uncommit back. Okay, but once you've uncommitted, then you can scroll down. Then you can choose to send your payslip now or by schedule, or maybe even by email. Okay, so if you send it, the staff will receive it from their mobile app, and you will no longer be able to unsend it. Okay. If you have changes, if you still have changes for that one staff, then you can just uncommit the payroll, make the changes, and then just commit that. Then the staff will receive the updated version of the payslip. Okay. So now that you have done your payroll, of course, you need to make payments. Okay. So you can head on to electronic payment over here and then select the correct month, and then you can download your payment file accordingly. Okay. So we have two sides. Okay. Monthly government file and bank payment file. So you might notice there's repeating files over here. Okay. For both monthly government and the bank payment files, such as maybe your EPF, SOCSO, EIS, your income tax or your CP39. Okay, these two are the same. So you might notice how come we have two files, okay, over here. So it's very simple. If you make your payment, your statutory payment from the government's website through FBX, like let's say for example your EPF payment, you make it in the KWSP. For SOCSO and EIS, you make it in Perkeso, and of course for your tax, you make it at MyTax. Then you can download from the monthly government files over here. If you make your payment for EPF, SOCSO, EIS, and all that from the bank's website, then you can download the payment file over here. Okay. So one thing I'd like to mention is that for the government file, we support SOCSO plus EIS, but for the bank side, they don't support this combination of tax file. Okay, only for the government's website they support. Okay, and then employee payment as well. Once you've downloaded the file, let's say for example Maybank. Okay, once you download the file, you'll be able to select what kind of bank you want, which uh banking method you're using. Then once you download it, you'll be in a text file format. Okay, not sure if you're able to see it. Okay, let me just share my screen. So the text file should look something like this. Okay. So we might not be able to read it, but if you submit to the bank and then there's some issues or whatsoever, you can always check back with our support team and they will help you to rectify the issue lah. Okay, they'll point out the issue and let you know. Okay. All right. So of course, once you've done all that, you'll be able to make payment lah. Sorry, not pay. Make payment. You'll be able to download your yearly government files as well, such as maybe your CP8D, e-data Prezi, and your audit files. Okay. So once you've done all that, one last thing to do is keeping record of your PCB and your CP38 receipts. So once you make the payment, they will provide you with a receipt. You can choose to keep a hard copy on your own, or you can choose to keep a soft copy under the AutoCount HRMS. Okay. So what you need to do is just key in the receipt date, receipt number, and the amount. Okay, and save. That's it. All right. So that's basically it for payroll. Okay. So we'll cover one more part and then we'll head on to human resource. Okay. So the last part that I'd like to cover after the payroll is your reports. So for reports, I won't go into every single one of them, okay? Because we do have quite a handful of reports over here. As you can see, we have EPF report, SOCSO, EIS, income tax, and HRDF. These are just under the government report. So for the management report, we have even more, okay? Just from payslip report alone, we have 13 payslip formats. And then for payroll, we have a lot as well, lah, okay? We have payroll report, loan report, claim, leave, attendance, and all that, okay? So you can try to explore around on your own, but I will show you the more commonly used one, okay? So for example, the most commonly used one would be, of course, your pay slips, okay? So for the pay slip, there's a lot of misconception, misunderstanding that a lot of people would think these are the paper format, okay? A1, A2, A3, A4. Okay, they would think these are paper size format, but no, these are just the the naming, okay, of the payslip. So you can see different payslip has different formats, okay? I'm going to open up a few and show you the examples, okay? Okay, so you can see here, this is payslip A1, okay? All of the data is the same, it's just the format itself that's not the same lah, okay? So this is A1, this is B6, sorry, this is B3, the most commonly used one, I would say, okay? And this is B7, okay? So every payslip has its own format, and all of the payslip are customizable, okay? But my personal preference is, of course, B3 lah, okay? Because B3 is very detailed. They'll show you the leave detail, okay? How many days you have taken, what's your balance, your entitlement for your overtime, allowance, deductions, all of that it will show, okay? And it leaves space at the top right corner here for you to customize your payslip lah. Okay, to add maybe your company logo. Okay, that's why I really prefer this payslip. Okay, so other than that, we also have your payroll summary report lah. So these are the most commonly used one. And before you preview, you can actually choose to filter your reports. Okay, so you can filter by maybe you want to preview January to March reports. Okay, or maybe you want to filter by specific departments only. You want to view few departments only, or maybe specific employees only. So once you take this part over here and you select it under the filters here, you can actually just directly click on preview to preview the report. Okay, so it will show here under in this format. Then of course you can customize it as well lah. Okay, if you have any inquiries on the customization, you can contact the support team and then they will assist you on the customization. Okay, just let them know your requirement. Okay, so that's basically it for reports. Okay. Next up, we'll head on to human resource over here. Okay, so human resource will have claim, leave, and attendance. Okay, and loan as well lah. So we'll start one by one from claim first, then we'll move on to leave and attendance. So before that, let me just see if there's any Q&As. Okay, there's a question on whether there's training for Singapore users. Yes, there will be trainings for Singapore users, but we have yet to host one. So if you are under our dealer, you can let our dealer know that you would like a training. If you are under our HQ, then you can let your respective sales rep know that you would like a training. Okay, and we will try to host similar training sessions. Okay. You missed my live replay on imported payment. Okay, and for importing the Excel into the HRMS itself, once you've imported, right, you can't share the payslip uh to the employee through mobile app. Okay, so the only way to share the employee the payslip through mobile app is that you process it from the payroll itself. But if you still want the payslip, I believe you should be able to acquire it once you have imported it. You will be able to get it from reports. Okay, just go to reports and then select the type of payslip you want. Then you can just preview accordingly. Okay, after you preview, you'll be able to export it lah. Okay. So maybe I'll show you an example on how you can do that. Okay, just go to reports over here and then under management reports, select the payslip format that you desire, then select the month and preview. Okay, so once you've seen the payslip, then you can actually just choose to export it, okay, in PDF or whatever format that you desire. Then you can just send it to the staff lah, okay? Okay, so we'll move on to human resource over here. So as I've mentioned, human resource, there are three sections, okay? Claim, leave, and attendance. So human resource is mainly for HR to manage uh the employees, maybe claim, leave, or attendance, and maybe even loan. Okay. So as you can see here, we have my claim, and then we have claim management. We have my leave, leave management. We have my attendance and then attendance management. So what are the differences between these two, and how do we segregate it? How do we differentiate which one belongs to employee and which one belongs to the HR? Okay, it's very simple. If you see the word my before the claim or the word itself, is basically employee has access to it. Okay. If you see management means only HR has access to it lah. All right. So let's say for example, my claim is for employee only. My leave is for employees only, and then for management is for HR only. Okay, it's just as simple as that. So we'll start off with submitting the claim. Okay. So submitting claim, we developed the system to where for claim, right, we envision it to where uh every employee would submit claim once a month, okay? Not multiple times a month, okay? But of course, they will still be able to submit multiple times a month lah. But it's just that we made it to where we hope that employee will submit the claim once a month. So this is how we submit the claim lah, okay? So to submit claim, just click on new, click on description, okay, and then just key in, okay? Let's say, for example, March 2026, okay? For the date and period itself, you can just leave it as it is and click on save, okay? So you have just created a batch claim, okay? A batch of claim for the entire month itself. And then you can key in the details of the claims that you like to submit. So let's say, for example, medical, mileage, parking, okay? Maybe even optical claims. So let's say, for example, you like to submit the most commonly used one, which is your medical claim, okay? So you can submit, key in the details such as your clinic, the invoice number, the date, okay, the reason, okay. Let's say you were sick, and then the doctor name, and then the amount. Okay. So let's say my per visit limit is, sorry, my per visit limit is 100, but I key in 110. Okay. So there will be two error message. Okay. First one is you have exceeded the per visitation limit. And then the second one is this claim requires an attachment. Okay. So I can put something lower lah, like maybe 80, then it will pass. Okay. But then again, I will still require an attachment. Okay. So let's say, for example, I just randomly select one and I save. Okay. So the system itself just need an attachment. It does not do any checking. That's up to the approver to do. Okay. So I can submit another claim as well, like my mileage claim, for example. Meet customer. Then for the date, I can just randomly select one. Mileage is 50. Okay. And then it will automatically appear. All right. So once I've keyed in all of my claim, like for example, my medical claim, my mileage claim, and let's say I don't have any other claims, I can choose to apply, okay, directly. Or I can just choose to draft it. Okay. If I go back, then it will be drafted. Then I can come back to this claim and add in more claims in the future, okay, before the deadline itself lah. But once I'm ready, if I want to submit the claim, I can just click on apply. Oh, I do not have any approval. One moment, let me see my account. Okay, should be able to apply now. Okay, so now you can see it's in process. So my approval will need to approve my claim. Okay, so to check the approval status, we can go to claim transaction over here, and we can choose to filter lah if we want to see individual employees only, or if we want to see everyone, then we can just click on search. Okay, so you can see here for my claim that I submitted just now, the 80 ringgit of medical claim and the 25 ringgit of mileage claim, it will appear inside here. Okay, and if I want to approve, I can just choose to approve. Okay, so the claim will be approved. Okay, so claim transaction is quite straightforward. It's mainly for you to just approve and preview any sort of claim transactions. Okay, you can preview, you can approve, you can reject. Okay, so one thing that I skipped just now is your claim approval history. This one, I'll get back to this later. Okay, so we'll move on to claim balance first. So for the claim balance is, I think the name itself is quite self-explanatory lah, which is for you to check your employees' claim balance. Okay, so you can see what's their yearly limit, what's their applied amount, approved amount, and all that. Okay. And of course, you might see that there's a pencil icon here for you to edit. That's only for you to edit the bring forward amount, if they have any bring forward lah. Okay. If don't have, then you can just leave it as it is. Okay. You can just treat this as a preview page for you to check the employee's claim balance. Okay. So just now I've skipped the claim approval history. Okay. Why I skip is because it's very, very similar to claim transaction. Okay. So remember that I mentioned that claim transaction is just for you to preview the entire company's claim transaction and for you to approve and reject as well. Okay. So why I say claim approval history is very similar is because you can see the same thing. The only difference is you are only seeing the people that you handle. Okay. Or you are only checking for your own claim. Okay. You cannot approve or reject over here. It's mainly for you to just preview. Okay. The people that you are in charge of. Okay. That's it. So the same logic applies for leave approval history. You can only see the people that you approved or rejected. Okay. Whereas for claim leave transaction over here, you can see the entire company's transaction. Okay. Or whomever you have access to lah. All right. So next is your leave. Okay. One moment. Let me just check some things. Okay. For leave application. So for leave application, it is quite straightforward as well. What you need to do is just click on Add New. Select the type of leave that you like to apply for. Then over here, you'll be able to see the total balance lah. Okay, your bring forward, your entitled, credit, expired, taken, and your final available balance. All right. So you'll be able to select the date that you like to apply for. Let's say, for example, I like to apply for 2nd of April. Okay. And then my reason would be, let's say, holiday and save. Okay. So you appear here, new. Okay. And I'll be able to see that I applied for 2nd of April on the 26th of March, which is today. Okay. I applied for 1 day of annual leave with the reason of holiday. Status is still new, which means it's pending. Okay. So again, where I can approve it is under leave transaction over here. Okay. So I can choose to approve it or I can choose to reject it. Okay, for your cancellation request, you can just key in whatever reason that you want lah. Okay, so once you've rejected, then the leave would be rejected. Okay, so next up is your leave entry. So leave entry is mainly for you to, there's two functions actually. It's mainly for you to deduct the employee's leave or maybe for you to adjust the employee's entitlement. Okay, so how you can deduct is just click on add new, key in, select deduct leave, key in the reason. Okay, so let's say for example they went missing. Okay, they did not show up for work. Then you can just key in MIA, then select the leave that you would like to deduct lah. Okay, let's say for example the first one for the leave type you select annual leave. For the alternative leave type you can select the second leave type. Okay, which is unpaid leave. So what this does is basically system will try to deduct annual leave first. If there's insufficient balance under the annual leave, it will deduct the unpaid leave. Okay, it will be considered as unpaid leave. So I'm going to select like maybe 2 days for 9 Pok Piong, for example. So if it's half day, then you can select on the right side over here lah. If it's full day, then you can select on the left side over here. So once you selected, once you maintain all the necessary details, you can just save. Okay, so you can see here, MIA, 2 days, it's under deduct, annual leave, and then under which staff. You can choose to edit or delete this as well. But if there's no changes and you want to send announcement to the staff to let them know that you have made this action, then you can choose to send announcement. Okay. So as I've mentioned, that's one of the main function lah. So as I've mentioned just now, the second function is append, which is basically adjust the employee's entitlement lah. So before I adjust, I'll just show you their balance. So we'll head on to leave balance over here. Okay, Tan Kok Keong. So you can see his balance right now is 10 days. Okay. So let's say his entitlement now is 10 days. Let's say it's supposed to be 20. Okay. So I'm going to go to leave entry over here to adjust. Okay, I'm going to change it to 10 days. You just select the staff and save. Okay. So again, you can choose to edit, delete, or send announcement. Okay. So once I've done that, let's head on back to leave balance to see this stuff. So now his entitlement is 20 days. Okay. So let me just select another staff for the next example. Let me see. Okay. I'm going to select this staff as, actually no, I'm going to select, okay, this staff lah, Tan Mei Mei. Okay, as an example. Okay, so my next example, that's basically it for leave entry. So for my next example is the next topic will be leave credit. So for leave credit is basically very similar to leave entry. Okay, you can add on additional leave for the staff, but the main difference is leave credit has expiry dates. Okay, that's basically it. That's the main key difference. So if you want to provide staff with additional leave without expiry date, then you can do leave entry. But if you want to provide it to them with expiry date, like for example, your replacement leave, okay, you can choose to add under the leave credit. Okay, so let's say for example, they work on holiday, you want to provide annual leave, okay, to them, but with expiry dates. And the expiry dates is in maybe 6 months, 3 months from now. Then you can just key in. Okay, select the date and then key in how many days that you want to provide. This is just an example. I provide 10 days. Okay, key in the staff and save. Okay, so now I can go back to leave balance here and then I can check the staff. So I provided 10 days of replacement leave for them. Okay, so you can see their final balance is 43. All right. So that's basically it for leave entry, credit, and transaction. So for the balance itself, I think it's quite straightforward as well lah. Okay, you'll be able to see BF. Okay, BF means bring forward from last year. Entitled is this year lah, your entitlement for this year. And then we have credits. Okay, credits is basically leave with expiry date. So if your carry forward has expiry dates as well, it will fall under credits as well. Okay, and then your taken, your expiring credits, if let's say your leave is expiring within 1 month, then it will fall under expiring credits as well. And then we have expired credits. Expired means they cannot use it anymore lah. Then this is their final balance. Okay, so that's basically it for leave balance. Okay, or the entire leave module itself. Okay, so now we'll head on to attendance. Okay, so for the attendance side, staff would be able to request for two things, okay? Overtime request and adjustment request, okay? But of course, this is an optional feature lah. Whether you'll be using or not is completely up to you. So we'll talk about the first one first. Actually, both of these are the same lah, okay? More or less the same, the way you request, but the outcome is different, okay? So first one is overtime request. You're basically requesting for additional work, okay? Additional work time. And adjustment request is for you to adjust your working hour. Okay, let's say maybe your normal working hour is 9 to 6, but then you overslept and then you would like to request for a change of working hour for that specific day only, from maybe 9 to 6 to maybe 10 to 7. Okay, so you can adjust from here. Okay, so we'll talk about overtime requests, which is the more commonly used one. You can select the date that you would like to request for overtime on. Okay, select the start time. Okay, so for start time usually is right after your shift ends, or maybe 30 minutes or 1 hour after your shift ends. So you can see here we have a time as a reference. So your time is 6 p.m. It ends at 6. Okay, so your overtime can start from 6 p.m. or maybe even 6:30 or 7, as long as it's after the working hour, and then the end time as well. Okay, the end time maybe is 2 hours. So I just put 8 p.m. Okay, so the duration is 2 hours. Okay, from 6 to 8. Then you can key in your reason lah. Your reason could be, let's say, for example, uh, rushing for project. Okay, then you can save. Okay, so it will be pending. Then you need to wait for approval. Okay, but for my part here, it will say approve is because I did not set up any approval, and or maybe I'm the approver, and then it will be directly approved. Okay, so usually it will show pending over here, and then you need to wait for the approver to approve it for you. Okay, so for attendance approval history, this is a bit different. Okay, so for attendance approval history, this is where you can approve and reject any sort of attendance request, like your overtime request or your shift adjustment request. Okay, so you can do it over here in the attendance approval history. Okay, so for my team attendance, this one is just for you to preview lah, to see how many of your staff are on time, on shift, absent, okay, on leave, how many of them went out early, or maybe they came in late and all that. So you can see the data from over here. Okay, so the last part would be your attendance management. So for your attendance management, right, it might be a bit complicated, okay, because we have shift rule, shift schedule, okay. This three part alone is a bit confusing sometimes, okay. So I'll answer some Q&A first, then we'll continue to this part. Ng Chi Kiong, you mentioned that you submit claim by creating another number for director. What do you mean by another number for your director? Maybe this one you can elaborate a bit. Grace, for your HRDF part on the payroll variance report, I believe this one can. Just that you need to contact support to help you customize it. Or if you're under our dealer, then you can check with our respective dealer lah. Staff for Ng Chi Kiong is staff is submitting claim on behalf of director, but director doesn't want to give his access. How to do? This one. Mm, Maybe you can create a dummy account that is shared between the director and the staff. Then the staff can submit the claim for the director. Is that okay with you? Maybe you can discuss this with your director and your staff. For Doris, if a company allows staff to take leave without monthly deductions, but only settle the leave balance on their final day, can AutoCount HRMS automatically detect a negative leave balance upon resignation and convert those days into a salary deduction in the final month of payroll? Okay, so the leave balance could be negative, but we do not do salary deductions. That one is completely up to the company's policy. That's why we didn't automate it. So if you notice that the balance is negative, then you have to manually key in that there's a deduction for the staff. Okay. How to keep track of office assistant or office boy working hours? Okay, so this one you can set up the shift, and then you can ask them to for Edward. You can set up the shift, and then you can ask the staff to clock in and out the moment they reach office. And this one I'll show you how you can do it lah. Okay. You can restrict them to clock in specifically in office only once they connect to the Wi-Fi, or maybe they are within the radius. Then they have to clock out before they go back home lah, so that you can keep track of their working hours and such. Okay, we allow staff to earn replacement leave by hours. Will the hours sum up to a day if they obtain 8 hours? Yes, it will. And they can apply by hourly basis. For Ng Chee Kiong, yes, there is a way to do it. The account has to be shared by both director and employee lah, if they are okay with it. And as long as the claim is approved, then can already. How to record staff on official duty outside office premise. Okay, for Edward, this one they have to clock in and out lah. There's a setting for it. I'll show you later. Okay. For Aina, yes, the recording should be sent to you. This one I have to check with the marketing team on when it will be sent, okay? Because they need to compress it first. This one I'll get my colleague to follow up with you. Kenneth, if it's possible, then you can follow up with this customer on the recording. Okay, last question. Before we continue. For Nurul, if you have another company, how you can add this add the company into the HRMS? This one, if we have time later, I can show you on how you can add it. It's quite simple. Okay, so this one I'll show you if we have time. So I'll try to wrap this up as quickly as possible so that I can show you on how to do it. Okay, so we'll move on to attendance management. So attendance management can be a bit tricky and complicated, okay? But we'll try to use analogies to simplify it, okay? So we'll start off with shift, okay? So for your shift maintenance over here, it's basically your working hours. You have to let system know what is your working hour, okay? Like for example, you have 9 to 6, okay? You have 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. You have 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. You have 5 a.m. to 2 p.m., okay? We can even support overnight shift, for example, 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. Okay, so it depends on your requirement. All right. So I'm going to take a very, very simple example, okay, because the topic itself might be a bit complicated. So I've tried to simplify it as much as I can. Okay. So when you create a new shift, right, just click on add new, just maintain the code and the description. Okay. And then for the clock in time, what time that you do you want them to come in, and then what time do you want them to go out? Okay, simple as that. And then for absent buffer and late in buffer, this one is completely optional. Okay, but if you keep it the default one, which is 1560, okay, this means that if they clock in anytime later than 9:15, we will consider them late. If they clock in anytime later than 10 a.m., we will consider them absent, okay? Which means we just take this buffer time and we add it to the clock in time, okay? Simple as that. And then for the break in and break out time, this one is optional lah. If you want them to clock in and out for lunch, then you have to maintain the break time out and the break time in, okay? If you don't need them to clock in and out for lunch, then you can just leave it as it is. Okay, just leave it empty. All right. So shift maintenance is more simple compared to the rule. Okay. So once you have defined your working hours here under the shift maintenance, you can head on to rule maintenance. Okay. So for the rule maintenance, the main purpose of rule is to create restrictions, okay, on when the staff can clock in, where the staff can clock in, okay, based on GPS or Wi-Fi's and all that, okay. So you treat it this way. Shift maintenance is basically you, okay. You are the worker, okay. All of these are workers, and then rule maintenance is basically a car, okay. So there can be many workers under a car, okay. And then this has to be a pair, okay? Your shift and your rule has to be a pair, okay? You must have a car in order to get to work, okay? Your working place is your shift schedule, okay? This is the most simple analogy that I can give, okay? So you treat shift schedule as your working destination. So you must be there, which is your shift maintenance, and your rule maintenance is your car. So you must have a car in order to travel to work, okay? must be a pair. This one you have to keep in mind because a lot of people will just create shift and then they don't create the rule and then they won't be able to assign the shift. Okay. So let me just get back to rule. So again, as I've mentioned just now, rule is basically restrictions for you to control, okay, how your staff can clock in and out. Okay, this is the most simple one that I can give. Okay, so you can configure the clocking methods. Okay, uh, where do they clock in? Okay, for example, they clock in with GPS or maybe Wi-Fi or maybe Bluetooth. Okay, if they clock in with GPS, then where can they clock in? Okay, for example, you can provide an address, okay, or maybe the location, name of the location, okay, and then you can just key in the name of the location and click get location, then it will automatically show accordingly, okay. So let's say, for example, I want to add in a new location called Wow Dama. Okay, I can click on get location and then it will point to Wow Dama. Okay, this is all powered by Google Map. Okay, so if you key in the location and it doesn't appear, then try to key in the address itself. Okay, and then for the acceptable radius, by default system will put 20, but I would highly recommend that you put 50. Okay, because GPS is depending on the uh line of the location. Okay, if your line is not strong enough, then the GPS might be a bit off. Okay, so this is an issue encountered even by Waze or Google Maps and all that. Okay, so try to increase the radius slightly higher a bit. Okay, 50. If you think 50 is still a bit too high, then you can slowly decrease it lah. Okay, but I would recommend you put 50 lah based on my experience. Okay, so based on this setting itself, this means that the staff has to clock in within a certain defined address, okay? Which means within this three location only lah, okay? If you want to allow them to still be able to clock in outside of this three area, then you need to take allow offsite clocking in or out, okay? So this means that if you take this, they will be able to clock in outside of this tree area, but then there will be a specific report for you to check where they clock in and out. Okay. And then of course there'll be additional actions as well, whether you want them to take a selfie or not, okay, or take a photo when they clock in and out. Okay. And then of course, other than GPS, we do support uh Wi-Fi as well and Bluetooth. Okay, Bluetooth requires additional Bluetooth beacon, but then for Wi-Fi, I believe most office also has their own Wi-Fi. So you can set this up so that the moment the staff arrives at work, they would be able to clock in. Okay, as long as they are connected to the Wi-Fi. Okay, if they're not connected to the Wi-Fi, then they cannot clock in lah. All right. So other than this setting, okay, this is the most simple one. Other than this setting, we have settings that are slightly more complicated, like your early out and lateness. Okay, do you want to have any sort of roundings on it? Okay. Okay, if you want to have roundings, then maybe it's 5 minutes, 15 minutes, 30 minutes, or 45 minutes. Okay, or maybe even up to 1 hour. Okay, same thing goes for overtime. You can choose to have rounding. You want to round up or round down also can. And then you want to round up or down by 5 minutes, 15 minutes, 30 minutes, 45 minutes, or maybe even up to an hour. Okay. And then we have minimum acceptable OT hour per day and maximum acceptable OT hour per day. Okay. 0.5 means half an hour, and then 4 is the default one, which is 4 hours per day maximum. Okay. And then there's another thing called no OT requests is required for OT calculation. So if you do not require your staff to request for OT, then you can choose to tick this one lah. Okay, then they don't have to request for the overtime. All right. So once you have created the rule, you have assigned the shift accordingly, you can just save. Okay. So once you save, you have your shift and your rule, you can assign it in the shift schedule over here. Okay. So for the shift schedule, we have three methods, okay, when it comes to assigning the shift schedule. So I'm going to show you the most commonly used one, which is Flexa, okay? Because standard and roster is more fixed, and I'm going to show you something that's more flexible, okay, which is Flex. So why Flex is more common is because, let me just double check some things. Okay, so you can see here for this staff here, Tan Kok Kyung, his schedule is blank. Okay, so right now I want to assign shifts for him. So what I can do is just go to Wizard, click on Flex, okay, select the staff, and then I can start to assign the shift accordingly based on the month. Okay, so let's say for example, the first week, okay, he'll be working 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. Okay, and then on the second week, he will be working 2 p.m. until 11 p.m. Okay, so I can just keep on assigning like this, and then it can be very flexible also, depending on your own preference, okay, or your company's adjustment lah, okay, for the shift. Then once you're done, just click on apply, confirm. Then you can go back. And if I filter back to April, so you can see these are the shifts that I have assigned just now. Okay. Again, for the purple part is basically my rest day lah. Okay. If you see it cut in half, then it means it's a half day. Okay. So that's basically it for your shift schedule. So once you have adjusted your shift and all that, if you want to check, okay, what time did the staff clock in and out, you can head to attendance transaction. Okay. So over here in the attendance transaction, you might see that there's a lot of columns over here, but you don't have to be too confused about it. You can just go at them one by one. Okay. So you can review them one by one. So you can see under here, this is the shift status, this is the shift code, and then this is the time that they're supposed to be in and out. Okay. So their total working hour is supposed to be 8 hours. But it says here they are absent because they did not clock in and out. Okay. So what you can do is if they forgot, you can clock in and out for them. Okay. So I'm going to show you an example. 9 a.m., 6 p.m. Okay. So now it will show complete. Okay. And then there will be an orange mark over here to show you that someone has manually made changes to it. Okay. And if let's say the employee's working hour is not enough, let's say they only work until 2, then the shift status will show incomplete. Okay. If you want to check the scenarios and all that, like how the system calculate this, you can click on the scenario and then you can see what are the discrepancies. Okay. For example, they did not clock in and out for their break. Okay. And then they went out at 2 p.m. Okay. So it's an early out. They did not clock in and out after that. So the total working hour is 5. They're supposed to be working at 8. So it's of course incomplete lah. Okay. So it will show you the overtime calculations and all that as well if needed. Okay. And then you can scroll all the way to the back to the overtime column to manually edit the overtime also can. Okay. If they have overtime lah. So let's say for example, they work until 8 p.m. So they're supposed to have 2 hours overtime. Oh, so I can just choose to manually edit 2 hours over here. Okay. So you show complete and then they'll have 2 hours of overtime. All right. So that's basically for attendance transaction. You can filter as well if there's a specific date that you like to preview or maybe a range of dates. Okay. And then one thing that I like to mention is that for our HRMS, we do support offline clocking. Okay. So which means if let's say, for example, suddenly the Wi-Fi at your office went out, uh, then the staff cannot clock in and out. They can just still open up the app and then do offline clocking. So the data would be captured, but then it will not be synced until you have Wi-Fi. Okay. Until your Wi-Fi is restored lah. So once your Wi-Fi is restored, all of the data will automatically sync back to the attendance transaction over here. It does not require any sort of approval or whatsoever unless we have noticed there are discrepancies, okay, or anomalies, such as maybe someone else helped them to clock in, okay, because there's no data, so our system cannot do checking at that time. But if let's say, for example, I clock in for my colleagues, then the HR check, they will be able to know, okay, and they have the right to reject or maybe even approve my clocking request. Okay. So if there's no anomalies or whatsoever, the clocking would automatically sync back into the system itself. All right. So the last part of the attendance is attendance map. Okay, so you can check where the staff clocks in and out. So I'm going to show you an example of my colleagues testing back in January. Okay, so you can see there's green dots and red dots. Okay, green dot means he clocks in. Okay, red dot means clocks out. Okay, so you can see the time as well and the location if you want to zoom in. Okay, so all of this is powered by Google Map. So we just follow accordingly to Google Map lah. So you can see where did he clock in and out. So if there's another one where it only shows green, means he clocked in but he did not clock out lah. Okay, so you can see where did he clock in and out. Okay, so that's basically for attendance map. This one is more for previewing purpose only lah. Okay, so for the very last part, before we head on to Q&A and conclude the training for today, is the loan. Okay, so for loan, this is a feature that's not used by everyone, but for those of you who are using or is planning on using it, this is how you can use the loan feature. Okay, so you can click on Add New, select the employee, okay, and then you can key in the loan amount. Okay, how much did they loan? Will we be charging interest? Most of the time, no lah. Okay, and then you can key in the description as well. So let's say, for example, personal matter. Okay, and then how long it's going to take for them to repay. So all of this repayment method will automatically be deducted from their salary. Okay, so you can put maybe 10 months, okay, or maybe even 14 months. Okay, then you can put the start period, and then the last period will be automatically calculated. Okay, so once you've added the repayment amount, all will be auto calculated, and then the last repayment amount as well. So you just save, and then you'll be able to break down to see the details of the claim, not the claim, the loan, okay, whether it's been paid off or not. If it's not paid off, then it will not show tick over here lah. But if it's paid off from salary deduction, then it will be tick in this column over here. But if it's paid by cash settlement, let's say the staff they paid back to the company with cash, then you can choose cash settlement, and then you can select the month. Okay, then you can just leave a remark. Okay, so they paid with cash, okay, over here. So if let's say, for example, you accidentally take three months, okay, instead of 2 months, then you can just erase one of the payment. Okay, you can cancel one of the payments. All right. So after that, once you start processing your payroll, the loan will start to auto deduct lah. All right. And if you want to pause the loan, then you can pause it as well. There'll be no further deductions until you resume the loan. All right. And once the loan has started, for example, you have made cash settlement or it has been processed one time, then this loan can no longer be deleted. Okay, you can only keep a record of it in there. So the only way to delete it is to remove all sorts of payments. Okay, cash settlement or from the payroll process deductions, you need to remove it. Then only you can deduct you can delete the loan. Okay. So that's basically it for the entire system itself. So let's jump on to Q&A. Okay, for Alice, yes, the training is recorded. We'll need to check with marketing team on how they would send it because the recording file is quite big. So this one, I believe they will get back to you on it lah. Okay. See how can we keep. Diana, may I know what do you mean by this? YTD summary in payslip shown previously. How can we key in the amount from previous year to current date? Could you elaborate if it's possible? Thank you. Yes, we will try to send the recording by email, but not sure if it's possible or not because if I'm not mistaken, there are file size restrictions on sending emails. So we'll need to check with them and get back to you on it. For those of you who have questions, then you can just drop it in the Q&A session. If no, then we can conclude our session for today lah. Thank you for joining. For those don't have any more questions, then you may leave. For those who still have, then you may stay lah. The Q&A session will be open up until 1 p.m. Okay, thank you. Eunice, you mentioned that you don't want to allow HR to view your director's salary or certain employee salary. Okay, so I'm going to show you one time on how you can do it. Okay, so you can go to user authorization over here. So I'm going to show you an example. Let me just delete this. Okay, I'm going to take this stuff as an example. Okay, so right now they are payroll user. Okay, so what I can do is, first things first, you can go to authorized employee group and then make sure that your director is in one of the group, like let's say, for example, the foreigner lah. Okay, and then make sure the account, the admin HR, you untick, okay, the group that the director is in. Okay, if you do not have this done, then you need to create the entitlement group first and then assign it to the staff. Okay, and then once you're done with that, you can head on to payroll. Okay, and you can also go to employee. Okay, employee maintenance, and then you can also untick the basic rate. Okay, so this is to ensure that the HR admin does not have access to everyone's salary. Okay, and director also totally cannot see. Okay, or you want them to only view, oh, okay, I see it. You don't want them to view certain stuff only. What we can do is totally hide the director and certain stuff from the HR admin. But they will still be able to see other staff that's in the same group as them, and they'll be able to see their salary as well. That's what we can do. But if you say certain stuff we hide salary, certain stuff we don't hide, that one we cannot do because we can only restrict based on one individual profile. Eunice, yes, you're right. So if let's say I'm gonna resume my share screen. Okay. So if let's say for example this stuff here, Joey, okay. If let's say for example I okay. if let's say I untick the manager here, she will be basically able to see everyone except for the manager. Okay, anyone in manager group. Okay, so that's basically it. It will hide everything from the staff. Yes, including leave claim, everything. The profile itself, they will not be able to find the employee. The payroll, the claim, the leave, everything will be all hidden from them. They will have zero access to viewing this employee. Okay, welcome. So for those of you who do not have any other further questions, then you may leave the training sessions already. Okay, thank you for your time. Okay, one more thing that I'd like to mention before everyone leaves. I've just checked with the team. The training itself will not be sent through email. It will be uploaded to YouTube. Okay, so you can check from YouTube, our YouTube channel under AutoCount. Okay, that's all. Thank you.